This is Scratch Your Own Itch, the one show that delivers the conversations that we're afraid to share, but need to. This show is all about creating a life worth living. I'm Logan Tyler Nelson, and I'm your host. So, you're going to hear conversations with creators and entrepreneurs talk about what they do, their current and past traumas, how they became who they are, and what they are truly curious about. This is the show where we talk about the things we think about a lot, but need to talk about more. Please take note that this show is not a substitute for actually creating a life worth living, because this show will stir your beliefs, make you question what it means to create a life worth living. So my promise to you is to always give you one question to answer for yourself today to start turning your dreams into a reality. Hey ladies and gents, before I get in this episode with one and only Ron Malhotra, I just want to invite you to the idea of listening to these shows on 1.5 speed. Makes the show go by much faster, first of all, and it makes it sound better. Honestly, it's really odd how just putting on one speed, it's not the way to do it. You gotta fast track it. Honestly, I love listening to podcasts 1.5 speed, so I just want to share that tip with you. Also, I really want to invite you to this idea of everything always works out. I've had to say that to myself time and time again. When I get freaked out and I freak out about something and I feel overwhelmed, I just keep saying to myself, everything always works out. So maybe you're having time right now in your life where you're freaked out about your social media, you're freaked about your relationship with someone, you're freaked out about your finances. This episode is for you, by the way, if you're freaked out for your finances, because Ron is dropping some huge value bombs during this episode about how you can think about money. And honestly, no joke, I took over this company called Interviews on Demand, and lately I've been freaking out about how I'm going to pay for the whole thing. To just totally be transparent with you, just be out there. But she actually charged me a very gracious price for the company Interviews on Demand and her connections with a bunch of podcasts. So I really feel very grateful for it. But I've had some moments during my day where I'm like, how am I going to pay for all this? I'm already in debt from college, but I just want to be upfront with you guys, because I know anybody that takes the time out of their day to listen to these interviews and listen to my journey, I really appreciate it, because I know they can be spending time doing anything else, but instead they're tuning in for this. So please hit that subscribe button though for me so you don't miss out another episode. And please leave a review, and if you do, I'll read it on the show. I'd love to help you, and I know that there's a bunch of places that you can watch me and watch me on my journey, but I really want to start driving you towards LinkedIn, because LinkedIn has been a great place for me. It's been amazing to me. So I'm gonna put in the show notes LinkedIn and how you can get more of me on LinkedIn. And if you're interested in building your own audience, I think the best way is through podcast guesting. I really know for a fact that podcast guesting is still behind the curve, meaning that you're still ahead of the game. If you're doing stuff on podcasts and you're like, oh gosh, or if you're not doing stuff on podcasts, rather, maybe you're just doing stuff only on YouTube and you're like, gosh, this is a really crowded space. Podcasts are not that crowded yet. People that actually last more than 7 episodes on a podcast are actually ahead of the game. Actually, it's proven that most podcasts pod fade about after 10 episodes. So seriously, if you're on a show that has more episodes than 10, you're ahead of the curve, and that means your success is just going to go through the roof. And that means you're also giving people 30 minutes of your time to really show off your expertise. So please connect with me on LinkedIn if you have any questions on that, or connect with me on Facebook. But I want to just drive you to one place, LinkedIn. So I'm going to put my LinkedIn user URL in the show notes. And I know I'm asking for too much, so I'm going to stop asking you guys for so much, because I just appreciate you taking the time to listen to this. Enjoy my interview with the one and only Ron Malhotra. So, my curiosity question is, do you worry about money? Okay, so let me put things into perspective. LinkedIn released the 10 most common job titles people are taking as their entry-level post-college job, along with the median salary. Knowing the average salary for a position you're moving into will help you negotiate a fair salary, and having a rough idea of what your friends make helps you realistically come up with an idea about what is financially healthy for you. So here are the results. Software engineers make around $95,000. Administrative assistants make around $38,600. Accountant executives, $75,000. Recruiters, $57,000. Financial analyst, $65,000. Marketing coordinator, $45,000. Research assistant, $34,500. Business analyst, $72,200. Account managers, $67,000. Project engineers, $73,000. When I graduated, I was looking at these numbers and I was like, all right, an actor is $20,000? Oh man, I didn't know what I was going to do. But it's important to provide a context of where we're all at. The numbers you see here may scare you or they might excite you. But if any of these resonate with you, then you're in for a treat, because my guest, Ron Malhotra, is an award-winning financial advisor, international speaker, advanced mindset, and success coach. He's certified, leading some of the top executives in the world around their money mindset and how to get it in check. Ron's passion is to empower people by delivering a comprehensive and leading success formula that is based on the most advanced psychology. Not only is Ron amazing when it comes to your money mindset, he also actually delivers practical, achievable advice that leads you to creating a system that's going to work for you instead of work against you. Because without a system, you're failing. Without something that you can do time and time again and bring a level of certainty, that checks out the emotional aspect that so many of us have with money. So, if any of this is resonating with you and you want to breathe into the truth, get ready to give a warm welcome to your savior, the one and only Ron Malhotra. How are you doing, Ron? Man.
Hey, that's got to be the best introduction I've ever had. A really awesome introduction. Wow. I hope I've lived up to people's expectations now, because you really built me up. But thank you so much. That's a really warm welcome. I appreciate it.
You are, you've earned it. You didn't make it. You didn't create it. You earned it, my friend. So that's what it comes down to.
Well, it's interesting. We're talking about money mindset. I'm sitting here, I'm listening to it, and I'm going, by now I should be comfortable with it, right? I should be comfortable in owning my space as somebody that's earned my stripes. But yet there were points where you were talking and I was going, geez, that little imposter syndrome that says I'm still not good enough. And although I'd love to think that I've 100% conquered that imposter syndrome, but there's always this little voice in each one of us that makes us doubt ourselves. And that little voice was like, oh my God, am I good enough? But you know what? That's just human. And for anyone that's listening to this, people need to understand that no matter who you are, no matter how much work you've done, no matter how many accomplishments you have under your belt, no matter how many problems and challenges you've conquered, there's always going to be a little voice in you that's going to make you doubt yourself. And, it's okay. It keeps us humble for a while. But thank you so much. I appreciate the introduction there.
Yeah, totally. I'm sorry, I muted you for a second, just because I want to listen to you. So, yeah, the mission of the show is really, honestly, to be vulnerable like that, to really make someone feel less alone and scratch your own itch, which to me really means that you've had this itch where you've had this problem that you've had to solve for yourself, and by doing so, you are now solving it for other people and figuring out how you can kind of like blend in with that and help someone strategically fix that problem with themselves too that you once had. So when I say like, how did you get to where you got to by scratching your own itch? What does that mean to you?
Well, I think for me, it was really, I guess my biggest pain point growing up was money, and not because my parents did okay, but then towards the end of their career, they lost their money through bad decisions. But not only that, I was born in India, which is a poor country, and well, it's not considered to be a poor country now, but but even now, there's a lot of people that are stuck in poverty. And so, in my childhood, I witnessed a lot of poverty around me, and I saw a lot of people, good-hearted people, hardworking people that were struggling with money. And then I found that, even when I was very young and we migrated to Australia, I found that it was no different, that people's mindsets around money, regardless of what their conditions were, regardless of what their circumstances were, regardless of the opportunities that were available to them, a lot of people thought the same way about money. And for me, it was not so much about the money, but I started to make a connection between money and having choices in life. So very early on, I realized that if I didn't have money, I wasn't going to have choices in life. And so for me, it was a case of, yep, I needed to work money out. But when I was young, in my 20s, it was all about, hey, let me work this thing called money so I can have lots of it. And at that point, I wasn't really thinking about adding value to the world. I was like, let me just figure this out so I can have lots of it, so I can have lots of choices. And at that point, when you're stuck in scarcity and survival, you're not really thinking about making a difference. You're not really thinking about helping others because your needs aren't met. And that's where I was. Even though I had started to make good money in my late 20s and in my early 30s, the fact was I still had a scarcity mindset around money. I wasn't really thinking about giving money away. I wasn't really thinking about using money for creation or disruption or innovation or doing something that would change the world. I was just thinking, how can I have a whole lot of real estate? How can I have lots of money in the bank? How can I have a nice car? How can I have nice houses? So even when I had money, I went from having no money to having no money and having a scarcity mindset, to having money and still having a scarcity mindset, to finally having money and not having a scarcity mindset, right? And it was such a journey. And what, for me, the penny dropped when I was starting to have, I've been sort of having money conversations for the last 17 years. I worked in different parts of financial services, from wealth management to private banking, commercial banking, funds management. And so what happened was I was having money conversations all the time. And then I started to see patterns in people's thinking. I started to identify patterns in what they were saying. And I started to make a connection between how they were thinking and the amount of money that they were making or the amount of money that they were keeping. And so that really inspired me to learn more and more about money. I wanted to know everything about money. I wanted to know how money is made, how you grow it, how you manage it, how you protect it, how you preserve it. And that became a quest. And then I started to realize that no matter how much money I had personally, I wasn't feeling satisfied. There was something missing. I almost felt like this sense of passive aggression in me. I used to come home and I start arguing with people, and I start arguing with my wife, and I was always irritated, even though I had a good sense of financial security. Everybody thought I was doing well financially. Personally, I knew that there was something wrong. And how it was playing out in my life was I was spending a lot of time working to make a lot of money, and then on the weekends, I felt like I had to escape from it all. So I would go out and, I would go and basically engage in binge drinking because there was something wrong, and I was trying to fill this void somehow. Then I started to, someone gave me a book, and I started to get into a bit of personal development when I was in my 20s. And, I picked up that book because I hadn't really read it properly, and I went back to it and I started to read it again. And I started to realize that there was something inherently that was missing in me. And what was missing was a sense of purpose. What was missing was a sense of inspiration. And I felt like even though I had money, I was operating from a scarcity mindset. So then from that point on, I really started to analyze conversations that I was having with clients. I started to read between the lines. I started to hear what they were not saying about money. And it came to a point where I would spend like 10, 15 minutes with the person, and I'd be able to almost predict what their financial situation would be. I could just in my head, I could predict exactly where they would be in terms of income level. I'd be able to determine what kind of income range they'd be at just by talking to them. I'd be able to determine what kind of assets they were likely to have. And most of the times my predictions were right. And I was thinking, wow, this is amazing. I can literally hear a person talk and pick up things in their speech patterns, pick up things in the way in they think, and be able to extract from that their money consciousness. So as I started to delve into that further, I looked into traditional psychology. I started to understand how the mind works. I went into neuroscience, and I started to connect all this stuff about the mind and peak performance and the science of achievement. And I started to connect it with money. And that's when the penny dropped for me. And I was like, wow, you know what? I've got this whole thing wrong, because there are so many people that chase money. You see, what happens many times is your biggest void becomes your biggest value in many cases. So what's missing in your life, or what you perceived to be missing in your life, sometimes you make that thing the most important thing in your life. And that's what happened with me. But I realized that that was the wrong way of approaching values, that my number one value was actually not money. My number one value was legacy. And all I had to do was to find a way to connect money with my number one value, my true number one value. And when I started to do that, it became a lot more meaningful. I make more money than I ever have, but I know it's not about the money. It's about the fact that it allows me to live congruently with my values. And now I teach it. You know, I've gone from being a practitioner who understands the language of money, understand the financial markets, understand the world of investments. But now, rather than just having superficial conversations with my clients about where should they invest and how much they should invest, I talk about more than that. I talk about their psychology. I talk about their thinking, their values. I talk about their behaviors. And I bring it all in context now. And those conversations are so much more rewarding and meaningful, both for my clients and for myself. So when you ask me this question, you know, that each that I've been wanting to scratch, well, this is it. This is what I live for.
Hey, Logan Tyler Nelson here. I would so appreciate it if you took some time to hit the subscribe button. I really want to just honestly live and give. Why? Because I was told when I was young that if you're feeling down, the best way to feel better is by lifting someone up again. So in an effort to make someone feel less alone, please hit the subscribe button so the podcast has a better chance of being found and making someone feel less alone. And if you're feeling down, hey, it can help you. Know that by hitting that subscribe button, you just did someone a huge favor. So thank you for hitting that subscribe button. Yeah, man, that is like the perfect answer for what scratching your own itch means to me, and really like why I named the show after what I did, because I think that first of all, money is like a very tough topic to talk to about a lot of people, because it's like even most people that are honest normally in their everyday life, when they talk about money, they almost want to lie about it, because sometimes the situation that there is not the situation that they want to be in. And so to me, it's almost like, plug your ears for anyone that's not of the age of 18 or older, but it's almost like talking about penis size for men and boob size for women, because it is that hard to talk about. I mean, really, like, it's a vulnerable thing to talk about for most people, no matter where you are. Even if you're rich, the rich try to pretend that they're richer, and the poor just try to pretend that they're getting by, and this is a problem that a lot, I think it's not just some people, it's almost everybody. And so I commend you on just going into it and being fearless and brave to talk to people about their money situation, and to see where it can become better and stronger.
Yeah, and the fact is that what you just said is actually no exaggeration. People do find money to be an intriguing and intimidating and an uncomfortable topic. So much so that you're right, that people will be probably more comfortable talking about sex than they're talking about money. And the issue is this, that, as a race, the human race has been around for 200, 300,000 years, whatever it is. We're still at a point where majority of people can't get it right. And what makes us worse is we can't even talk about it without getting labeled, without being judged. I mean, the number of times I get judged when I talk about money, people just assume that I was born with a silver spoon in my mouth and I've had this privileged background and I've had all this support coming in. And so when I talk about stuff and I talk about success and I talk about self-responsibility, so many people go, oh, well, it's easy for you to say that. And I go, no, this is precisely the problem. You keep acting like a victim. You're not going to make it financially. And money is not so much about ego. It's not about arrogance. It's not about status. It's not about prestige. It is simply having the ability to design the life that you want. And whether you like it or not, money is the currency that allows you to do that. And even if you don't want to keep enough for yourself, you got to make enough so you can contribute to things that you care about. Because, I had this argument with somebody. Somebody said, oh, you're really money-minded. And I said, are you sure? And yeah, you always talk about money. You're always espousing the values of money. You're so money-minded. And they were implying that I'm greedy. And I threw a question at them. I said, listen, do you love what you do? And they're like, no. I go, well, so who's more money-minded, you or me? Because I love what I do. I absolutely love it. You go to work, give up your time for something that you hate so you can make money. You make just enough money that puts food on your table and pays your bills. I want to make enough so I can create value for the world. Who's more money-minded? Who's more selfish? You or me? Right? And it's just a different way of looking at it. And the issue is a lot of people find honor in saying that, hey, you know what? I'm not a money-minded person. And I keep saying to people, there is no honor in that. Because here is the thing. No matter how spiritual you are, you have a responsibility to master the ways of the physical world first. Because why? Because you were born a physical being. Even though you're a spiritual being, you're having a physical experience. You can't escape the physical experience and go into spirituality and then claim that you're this highly evolved person. But really, at the end of the day, all you're trying to do is escape from the pressures of the real world. You've got to master it. And money is one of those counterintuitive subjects that anyone can master through proper learning and application. But most of the times we're so busy judging and avoiding the topic that we'll never master it. You can't master something that you refuse to confront, that you refuse to investigate, that you refuse to deal with. And for me, it was a case of, okay, you know what? You think that being without money is bad? Or being without money is good? Well, why don't you come and speak to some close people that I know who don't have money? And right now, they're at that stage of their life where they don't have dignity because they don't have enough money. I know that, imagine how would it feel that you're 65 years of age and you have a grandchild and you can't go to their birthday because you don't have enough money to buy a present for them. That is reality for a lot of middle-class people today. I'm not talking about poor people. I'm talking about middle-class people. According to one report, which is called the Global Shift in Wealth, there's 15,200,000 individuals that have a net worth of $1 million. 15,200,000 individuals. If you break it down into percentages, it is just over 2% of the world population. If you then look at multimillionaires, which is a net worth of 10 million plus, it's about 545,000 individuals. That's even less. Billionaires, there's only 2,200 billionaires in the entire world. Now, here is the question. It begs the question, why can't 98% of people even get to $1 million? Not that $1 million is a lot of money. It isn't. The definition of rich kicks in at 500 million. 98% can't even get to $1 million. Now, here's the thing. This is not judgment, by the way. This is not to say, hey, there is something wrong in not having money. But there is something wrong in you refusing to confront money, and refusing to learn about money and judging money when you know that your whole life, your dignity, your ability to be able to contribute depends on money. And that, for me, it was the connection. It was like making people fiscally responsible. Hey, that if you don't have enough money, you're going to fall back on your children at a time when they need to be raising their children. What's so dignified about that? What's so noble about that? Right? So it was really, for me, it was like taking people who are these self-righteous people who are pointing fingers at everybody and going, hey, you know what? Money people are bad people. They're greedy people. I'm a good person because I haven't got money. And they've made this twisted connection between poverty and being a good person. And now they're espousing that to the whole world. And I realized that there are so many intelligent people on LinkedIn, people that I'm connected with, professional people, intellectual people, people who have amazing hearts, so many of them have limited beliefs about money. And it's hurting them, and it's hurting their families, and it's hurting. The way it's hurting them is they've got all this talent, they've got this ability to contribute, they've got all this ability to change the world. They're not going to be able to do it. Why? Because in the real world, you need resources to be able to make an impact. But they're not seeing that. You see, they're not seeing that. What they're doing is they're denying this whole thing, going, well, money's not important. And I'm going, well, by saying that, you're denying the world of your talents and your gifts, because without resources, you ain't going to be able to make any kind of impact. And for me, it's just about making people see this. And I tell you what, it is challenging. The moment I try and get people to see this reality, I get judged. I get labeled as privileged, as if I'm trying to tell people that being rich is a great thing. I'm just saying, hey, become financially responsible. Just make sure you're secure, your needs are met, have enough for yourself, your basic expenses, but also have enough so you can contribute to causes or people that you care about. What is wrong with that?
Nothing. That's the thing. Actually, I will admit to, totally be like upfront and transparent with everyone. I started this podcast, and I started my journey with being of influence, and I will admit I had said in past, like, hey, that person's just money motivated. I don't want to work with that person. And it's like, it's so odd that I've actually can look back and see the growth, and I know I'm not the only one out there that may have said, that exact sentence. I don't want to work with that person because they're money mindset. But you've even said, I've done a bunch of research, and I really love this quote that you have, that you said, you naturally perceive people who charge high prices as greedy. And it just, to me, that quote right there, I actually I highlighted it and put it in one of my philosophies. I have this little personal philosophy that I make, that I have quotes that just remind me of who I really am as a person. And so when I say that you naturally perceive people who charge high prices as greedy, like, really questioning that, to me, will really open someone's their mind to going, no, they actually are providing a certain amount of value that's worth that greedy price. And so now if you shine that out to the world, I think it really does become possible that you are worth $1 million if you give a value that's worth $1 million. And so many people say, though, like, no, you can't do that. And just, it's funny because so many people do fall into that trap of being scared to actually make money because they don't know that they're worth it, but they are. And they just gotta, like, you're delivering books and coaching programs that are worth $1 million because they're making millions of dollars for people that are doing this exact thing.
Well, you're right, because this was a blog that I wrote, which was about poverty consciousness, and one of the symptoms of poverty consciousness is you naturally perceive anyone that charges high prices as greedy. Now, there's a couple of issues with that. First of all, people who judge people as being greedy just because they're charging high prices, number one, they don't understand the concept of value, right? It's not about the price, it's about the value. What value are you adding? So, for example, let's just say I charge somebody $5,000 and I do some coaching sessions with them. But because of the $5,000 investment that they've made, now they are more in alignment, which means they're making better decisions. That means the propensity for making poor decisions is minimized. Poor decisions can lead to what? Bad relationships, bad money decisions, right? Ending up in careers that are not suited for you, ending up in high-stress situations. And you can literally waste 20 years of your time without realizing what you're doing. I've seen people make such bad investment decisions because they didn't have the fundamentals, right? I've seen people who have married the wrong person because they had no idea of who they were. So you have no basis for making decisions. So if you've just assisted somebody in becoming more aligned, you've given them clarity, you've helped them become more empowered, now they're making better decisions. Quantify how much those decisions can save them over their lifetime, right? Better career selection. Now, if they've picked a better career that's in line with their zone of genius, they're likely to be more productive. That means that they're going to have exponential increases in their salary. They're less likely to make a bad decision with their relationship. Divorces are expensive. If you marry the wrong person, you get divorced. Hey, there's 40% of your 50, 60% of your net worth gone. Bad investment decisions. How many people speculate? They don't understand the difference between investing and speculating. So they work 30, 40 years so hard, and then they make these bad investment decisions, and they see that their money is just eroded. Right? So you think about the consequences of not getting it right. You look at the opportunity cost of not knowing this stuff. And then you go, I've just paid $5,000 that will save me a whole lot of pain and bad decisions and indecision that would have costed me maybe 100 times the amount of money that I have just paid. And this is the biggest issue in the world today. A person who comes from a mediocrity-based mindset places a high emphasis on price, but very low emphasis on value. Then they wonder why they can't make money. You see, it's impossible for me to go, hey, $3,000 is a lot of money, I'm not going to pay you. But then I try and charge somebody else $3,000 for my services, what's going to happen? I'm being completely incongruent, right? Because I think $3,000 is a lot of money. If I think paying you $3,000 is a lot of money, how the hell am I going to charge this guy here $3,000? I won't. Because why? Because the moment I ask this guy to pay me $3,000, it's going to create incongruency in my voice, in my body language. This guy's going to pick up. He's going to go, hey, something's wrong here. This guy doesn't sound genuine. Why? Because I'm doing something that I haven't done myself. I'm about to get somebody to do something that I haven't engaged in myself. That's inauthentic. But here's the question for you. If I spend 20,000 hours trying to master a skill, and I spent $250,000 in my lifetime trying to master that skill, and I'm looking at somebody and I'm going, hey, pay me $10,000 for it. In my mind, I'm going, that's a bloody bargain. You don't have to spend that much time. You don't have to spend that much money because I'm going to condense it and I'm going to give it to you in a way that you can apply and get results from. Now in my mind, it's so easy for me to charge $10,000 because I know that they're getting a bargain. And that's the issue. All too often, people want to solve their money problems without solving their money consciousness. And that is inauthentic and that is incongruent. So it's not the person who is charging a lot of money for the value that they're giving that is acting out of character. It's the person that wants to make money without investing in themselves that's acting out of character. But do you think they see it like that? Of course they don't. You know, I ask people this question sometimes when I do money presentations. I ask people, I said, imagine you've just gone into a party and here is Ron, and Ron comes to you and says, hey, welcome. And he introduces you to these two people. One's called Jack. Jack is the guy next door. Really amazing, just a really humble, down-to-earth guy. Easygoing, right? Lives in a one-bedroom apartment. And here is Benjamin. Benjamin is a billionaire, right? Benjamin owns hotels. He owns casinos. He's a billionaire. Who are you more likely to feel comfortable with? Who are you more likely to spend time with in that evening? Who are you more likely to spend your evening with if I introduce you to those people? Fact is, majority of people would be more comfortable hanging out with Jack. Why? Because they're going to immediately, automatically make the connection that Jack's a nice guy, down to earth. And they're going to probably avoid Benjamin because they're going to be uncomfortable and intimidated around Benjamin because most likely all of their money beliefs are going to surface and they're going to be intimidated. And chances are they may not even like Benjamin, even though they know nothing about him. And so this is the issue. So many times we are so uncomfortable around money. How can you attract something that you have a negative belief about? How can you even identify the opportunities around that thing when your mind's made up that that's not a good thing or it's going to make you a bad person? How are you going to attract it if you're uncomfortable around it? That means it's outside of your possibility zone. I have an amazing example that I use sometimes. I got a friend of mine, she rang me once and she said, Ron, I know you do this mindset stuff and money stuff. I need you to help me out. And I go, what's going on? And she goes, well, last year I made about $200,000 and I had a lawsuit against me. And then I found that I had to pay a lot of that money back. This year I got to $200,000 and my whole sales pipeline just dried up. And I had no more money coming in. What's going on? And I go, well, I think you've got a limit. You've got an invisible lid on how much money you can make. Oh, she goes, oh, that can't be right because my dad was really wealthy. He was a life insurance salesman. He did really well. I doubt that that's the case, Ron. Anyway, the conversation didn't go anywhere. She hung up. I hung up. That was it. 2 weeks later, I saw her share something on Facebook. And it was a very simple post. The post said that a retired Australian pensioner makes $20,000 a year and a retired Australian Prime Minister makes $250,000 a year. Share this post if you think it's unfair. So I picked up the phone and I rang her and I go, hey, what's up? What was that? Why did you share that post? She goes, which post? I goes, that post that said a retired Australian pensioner makes $20,000 a year. A retired Australian Prime Minister makes $250,000 a year. Share this post if you think it's unfair. Why did you share that? She goes, well, because I think it's unfair. I said, right, okay. She goes, why? I said, well, did you notice something about that? She goes, no, what do you mean? I go, well, think about this. You just shared a post because you think that the amount of money that an Australian retired Australian Prime Minister makes is excessive. Now, may I ask you a question? She goes, go ahead. I go, what if this retired Australian Prime Minister was making $100,000 a year? Would that be okay? She said, yes. I said, right. Is it possible then that you think $250,000 is a lot of money? And you place a lot of significance on that amount, on that number. There was silence from her end. She goes, I know where you're going with this. Well, I said, think about it. You think $250,000 is a lot of money. It's actually just money, but you have attached a lot of significance. Then I said to her, I said, remember a time when you were young and you went into a bar and you identified somebody in the bar that you were attracted to, but subconsciously you felt that they were out of your league. Can you think of a situation like that? She goes, yeah, I can. I said, okay. Did you approach this person? She goes, yes. I said, what happened? She goes, I screwed up. I said, exactly right. Now think about a time when you're surrounded by people that you're not attracted to, and they're very much within your league. Are you in your element? She goes, yeah. I said, that's exactly what happens. When we are about to confront a situation that we have subconsciously identified to be outside of a possibility zone, our body goes into this panic mode. Why? Because it's not something that we're comfortable with. And that's exactly what happens with people with money. If you take a person who has a limited mindset, let's just say their invisible money limit is set at 60,000 per annum, and you put them in an environment where they can make twice as much, 120,000 per annum, that person is going to go into massive self-sabotage. They're going to make bad money decisions. They're probably going to overspend that money. They're probably going to not even miss the opportunities that are available to them. Why? Because that amount of money is not in their possibility zone because they attach too much significance to it. And that's the issue. So you can't go out and attract money and make money and enhance your net worth if the thing between your ears is programmed for you to live in scarcity. And that's how powerful this thing is.
Hey friends, so let me ask you real quick. Are you someone who's trying to get more visibility? Who's trying to be in front of the crowd? Well, if that's you, I want to let you know that first of all, you're not alone. Second of all, if you want to get on more podcasts, or ones that actually scratch your own itch, meaning maybe you have a book, or a business, or maybe you do speaking, or if you don't yet do speaking, maybe you can, and maybe you'd love to. Well, I put something together for you, and in this little giveaway, I'm going to show you how to pitch yourself or podcast and how to actually be professional when you show up so you can be the next authority in your niche, so you can start scratching your own itch. I know what it's like to build something, create something, and then there just be crickets. No one wants that. You need to be seen. You need to be heard because you have a message to share, a message that is worthy of hearing. Podcasts nowadays, more than ever, are being consumed by people. And guess who's actually learning the knowledge that's being shared? It's podcast listeners. It gives you a license to be an authority in whatever area you really dream of being an authority in. So if this at all starts to give you a little itch to scratch, just email Logan at logantylernelson.com. Again, that's Logan at logantylernelson.com. Wow, that's a crazy story. I'm like kind of blown away right now, a little bit blown to the point where it's like, I feel like I've been inside the matrix, for a long time with money mindset, and I'm sure there's another person out there that's listening right now that goes, wow, I've been in the matrix too. I've been taking the frickin' blue pill when it comes to money mindset, and Man, I'd love to talk to you about this for hours and hours, and I'm going to invite you back on, and maybe we can talk about this again, but I want to go into scratching the surface curiosity questions where it's just more rapid fire, 30 seconds or less answers. So whenever you're ready, we'll go into that.
Yeah, go for it, man. Sorry, I know I was a bit drawn out, but you know what? I just wanted to give people some context around what's going on in people's minds, what's going on inside of them, and why they're not being able to produce the financial outcomes that they really want. So hopefully that helped.
No, trust me, it's helping out because what you're doing is you're prodding questions instead of just giving answers, and I believe that when you ask the right questions, it does lead to a quality of life. And so I want this to be an episode where people don't just listen to it once or twice. I really want them to keep on listening. I mean, I myself, I know I'm going to be listening to this again and again. But I'll go in these rapid fire questions and we'll end it out strong. The first question is if you could sit on a bench and talk to one person just for an hour, who would it be and why? 30 seconds or less.
I'd love to speak to Martin Luther King because I'd like to know how he had the courage, how he had the drive, and how he had the vision to change the whole face of America through a movement that he started. I just really admire the courage and the character that Martin Luther King had.
That's awesome. That's amazing. I agree. He's the man. I have had dreams literally with that guy, and I was not inside the dream. I had a dream where I was literally just standing next to him, and after he got done with his speech, it was really odd. I just looked at him in the eyes and said, please keep doing what you're doing and don't ever stop. And it was really odd. It was a crazy dream that I had. And I don't know how I got that dream because obviously I've never met MLK. It was just really cool. Anyways, the next question. Yeah, right. I'd love to ask you, what way do you love to consume content? Podcasts, audiobooks, books, movies, YouTube?
What way? Sorry, what was the question again?
What way do you like to consume content? Books, audiobooks, podcasts, movies, YouTube videos?
All of it. You know, I like to bombard my senses with positive content, anything that's positive, that's going to give me inspiration, that's going to give me tools of transformation. I'm always learning. Learning is also one of my highest values. And I look at the fact that I've got to bombard all of my senses, my visual senses, my kinesthetic senses, my auditory senses. So you know what? I like to consume content in every way.
That's awesome. That's so cool. Do you currently have a favorite podcast, though, by chance?
No, I don't, because I kind of find that sometimes the guys that are really upcoming, like, they're awesome listeners and they come with a really clean slate. And they ask really amazing questions. So whilst everyone's just, naturally gravitating towards Tim Ferriss or the well-established podcasts, the reason I wanted to be on your podcast as well is because I like your Mark Mitri. I just like the fact that you guys bring something fresh and something new. So I listen to all kinds of podcasts. I don't have a favorite. You just never know where you're going to find the gold.
I agree 100%. So I love that. Based off of your desires, what have you felt that is truly your desire and not been someone else's desire just because you were in that environment?
I think everyone's out there. There's so many, like, the whole personal development industry has kind of taken off in the last 10 years. And there's a lot of people, coaches, experts, mentors, they're all driven by the same thing. They want to elevate consciousness. They want to empower people, so on and so forth. I find that my position is slightly unique in that I like to enable people to achieve more. So I'm very achievement focused. I like people to achieve more. So that's the thing that really drives me. It's not just about empowerment. It's not just about feeling good. It's not just about elevating your consciousness. I actually want you to get results. And that's what I love about life. And that's why I'm uncompromising. And when I mentor people, I'm uncompromising. I'm going to tell you what you want to hear. I'm going to tell you what you need to hear. I don't care about how you feel. I only care about your results. And so that's something, I think that's something a bit unique, because there's so many people that are kind of politically correct in the coaching world's teaching you, it's all about working with the client. No, you want to get results, you come to me. And if you work with me, you're going to get results. And that's how I think. So, yep, it can be for some people, it can come across as a bit hard ass. Some people might think, that's just too, where's the consensus in this? But I guess I'm a little bit different. I own my space there. And you know what? It's not for everybody. But if you want results, you come to me and I'm going to tell you exactly how to get there.
Oh, man. The riches are in the niches. The riches are in the niches. I love it.
Sometimes it doesn't, I'm not very popular sometimes, but you know what? I've never gone for the popularity. I go, I don't care if you don't like me. I don't care if I'm not popular. Even on social media, I actually engage with my critics and I attack them back. People go, you should not do that. I go, no, I will. Because I'm not doing them because I'm upset. I'm not doing this because it's coming out of ego. I'm doing it because I want to deter them from picking on people for no reason. If they're not well researched, if they don't know what they're talking about, and they're simply trying to derail people, and they're simply trying to come up with stuff without examining their own biases, then I have to take them out of the game.
Yeah.
And that may not make me look very popular at times, but I don't care, because I go, you know what? No, sorry, I'm engaging. You just got into the ring. You're going to swing one at me. I'm going to swing one back at you. Now, some people might go, that's not a nice thing to do. But I go, no, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. It's not that I want to hurt the guy, but sometimes one of the best things we can do for people is to swing one back at them, because it makes them realize that they've got to apply a new approach, or maybe they need to think. Maybe they need to think about things twice before they pick on others. So I don't see that as a bad thing. But so again, it's an approach that's a little bit different. But I'm just prepared to own my space, and regardless of how much I get criticized or how many people stop following me, for me it's more important that I remain authentic to who I am.
Yeah. Man. I could go on about that for hours, but unfortunately I only got a few minutes left, so a few more questions. Maybe we'll talk about it on the back end, my friend. But the second to last question is, where's the one place people can find more of you?
I think I'm very active on LinkedIn, but they can join my. I've got an inner circle. They can visit my website, ronmalhotra.com. RONMALHO for Orange, T for Tango, R for Roger, A for Apple. ronmalhotra.com, and you can subscribe. And I just love sharing insights. So if you like what I'm about and you want to follow it and you want the real stuff without the sugarcoating, then you can just subscribe and you can be a part of the inner circle.
Heck yeah. Please just go there. I'm not going to make it hard on anybody. Go to that website. I'm telling you what, I went to it. I've been doing a lot of research on Ron, and he practices what he preaches. I mean, really, I can't say that enough. And the last question is, I do, like I said earlier, think that giving answers is great, but I really do think it's questioning and being inquisitive and curious and compassionate about your life that's going to actually allow someone to break free. And so I'd like to leave off any listener right now with a self-inquisitive question that they can kind of ask themselves throughout the day that will really, really unlock a pain point in their life.
Yeah, sure. My question that I'd like people to ask themselves is, what is my life sentence? And that's a very simple question. What do you want people to say about you when you're dead? And try and do it in one line. So one life sentence. So, for example, I would love, when I'm dead, I want people to say, because of you, I want it to be more. Now, you need to know what that is. Your life sentence. One statement about what you want people to say about you. And that should be the catalyst for all of your decisions going forward, because that should drive what you do from this point on. And that is such a fundamental question that most people don't ask themselves. So if you give out mixed messages, if you don't stand for anything, you're going to be forgotten. You're not going to impact any lives. And that's why I think that's fundamentally one of the most important questions any human being can ask themselves.
Man, I love that. Gosh, yeah, that makes me think too. It really does. And give context to what you just said. I think my life sentence, I know for a fact, is just making people feel less alone. And that's through the vehicle of marketing and making people really share their area of expertise or supremacy. So thank you. I want to acknowledge you, though, Ron, for coming on and doing all the work that you do and making people more, I would say, aware of their, not only their financial issues, but how they can break free and achieve more, and doing the things that are hard to do but need to be done. And so I really see that in your work, and I really hope that we don't disconnect here forever. I hope we stay connected, and this has been just an incredible conversation. Thank you, Ron.
And before you go, I just want to acknowledge you as well, because I know that you're doing some great work, and I know that you've overconquered your demons, and you're doing amazing stuff, and you're creating a legacy for yourself. And I'm glad that you're clear about the kind of impact that you want to have. And I do want to say that you are having that impact. So thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Thanks, Ron. I really appreciate that. All right, until then, we'll let folks go there, and please don't be shy. Reach out. Thank you. All right, there's another episode of Scratch Your Own Itch. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to support the show by listening. The biggest compliment you could ever pay me is just by sharing this, because honestly, it doesn't take much, and it feels so good when people create something and take time. And when I see someone take time to create something that really just changed my day, either made me feel less alone, maybe put a smile on my face, made me laugh, made me feel wiser, I always want to share it with the world. Because why? When I share something that resonates with me, why not share it? I mean, that's just kind of the thing that goes around, and it's free. It takes no time at all other than just a click of the button, share, on either Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. Any of those social media platforms would be great to share this. So I really appreciate it. And I want to say that anybody who's looking to gain authority or expertise in their area, and they don't want to take another year or year and a half to write a book and wait until that's published, I think the best way is right now is to start a podcast. So if you're at all interested in starting a podcast, if you meet the certain requirements, I would love to help you with a podcast and also get a website going for you as well. And this is not an easy task. It's hard to actually get it done and get it out there. So every now and then we need some help, and I'm here for you. So please reach me at Logan at LoganTylerNelson.com if you're interested at all. And don't ever forget, you matter and you're enough.